Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my Facebook Live video. I am Amanda Patterson, and I am the owner of Caring Therapists of Broward, which is a group practice located in Pembroke Pines, Florida. We are actually located on Sheridan and Douglas for any of you who are familiar with the area. I have been in practice now as a licensed mental health counselor. It's been 8 years. I've been a therapist for a little over 10, and I've had Amanda Patterson LMHC. Actually, right this week is my 5-year anniversary, and it's the 3-year anniversary for Caring Therapists of Broward. So I'm very excited about that. I figured out this would be a great opportunity to share that piece of exciting information. And so I wanted to share today about who I am and what I do and who I treat. And so I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I specialize in treating people with anxiety and depression. I mostly focus on teens and young adults, but I'll see a wide range of people from about 10 years old on up. And so it just depends on the client's need and our fit. And I come from kind of 3 perspectives when it comes to treating depression and anxiety. And so I have decided to sort of specialize in depression and anxiety because they're so closely related. Usually when somebody comes in feeling depressed, they're also feeling anxious. Or if they're feeling anxious and that's their primary concern, there's also some depression that comes along with it. And so it's a really good fit for me, because people will come in for one, but they're sort of hiding underneath one of the others. And so the way that I mostly treat depression and anxiety is through cognitive behavioral therapy, family of origin work, and attachment. And so I'll explain all 3 of those and how that works for the people that come and see me. Now, if anybody has any questions during this live broadcast, please let me know. And if you are watching this at a later time and have any questions for me or want some information about my services, please feel free to follow both of my pages, and you can send us a message there, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. And so I want to talk about what I do when clients first come in. And so obviously we do a thorough assessment. I do a thorough assessment and really get an idea of what somebody's feeling and how long it's been going on for and how long it has persisted. So sometimes people will come in and they'll have a bout of anxiety. They're either feeling maybe testing anxiety. It's summer now, so I'm starting to see it. Well, it's almost summer. And so I'm starting to see a lot of teenagers and college students come in for the summer who have had a lot of trouble during the year because of testing anxiety or even social anxiety. And so they'll come in because it happened in college, for instance. But when I start to gather more information, this is something that started in middle school, it was present in high school, and they were able to work through it. So I a lot of times really want to know how long that this has been going on for and in what different aspects. And so during the first session, I always do a thorough intake with whoever I'm seeing. I think most therapists in this group obviously do that as well. And then during the second session, I always do a treatment plan. And the treatment plans are specifically going to be related to the depression or anxiety that they're feeling. And the way that I like to treat both depression and anxiety is by doing family of origin work and then moving into cognitive behavioral therapy and interspersed with attachment styles. What I have come to find out is that a lot of people that I see for counseling have one of 2 attachment styles, which is they're either anxious or they're avoidant. And so I see a lot of, for instance, a lot of women that have an anxious attachment style, and then it manifests itself as anxiety in relationships. So they think that they're just anxious for because their partner hasn't called them back. But when we really start to look at deeper work, we start to see that they have really what's called an anxious attachment style. And so when I do family of origin work, what I do is take a look at how belief systems were developed in childhood. And so I'll usually have my clients do a timeline of their life, and especially if we're looking at one specific issue. So if a client has a fear of failure, I'll have them complete a timeline of all the times that fear of failure came up in their life. I'll have them do an age, I'll have them do a scenario, and then some work around how they were feeling or maybe what the outcome was. And when people start to really look at those timelines, they start to see that this has been something that has been persistent in their life. It's not just coming up today because they have a promotion that they're facing at work, or that they're feeling depressed because they didn't get the promotion through work. That this feeling of failure has been a big part of their life through childhood. And they may even have gotten messages from family members or the media or friends. And so I like to work with my clients to take a look at their relationships with their parents, relationships with their siblings, even relationships with extended family members, and some of the significant events that occurred in their life. And so a lot of the times people, for instance, who have anxiety have a belief system that the carpet is going to be pulled out from under them, that something bad is going to happen, even if everything is indicating in their life that everything is going great. They still have this underlying fear. It's usually here, and they can't shake it. They know here that everything is going well, nothing bad is going to happen, but here and here, they really feel like the carpet is going to be pulled out from under them. And so what I like to do is I like to have them trace back where this came from. Was there a time in their childhood where the carpet was pulled out from under them? Were they able to resolve whatever happened during that time? Did they process it with their parents? Did they process it with a counselor? Is that where the belief system stemmed from? And then from there, I do a lot of inner child work around that period of time so that there can be some healing. And it can be something that is as simple as writing a letter to yourself during that time, so you can kind of let go of that anxiety, let go of those fears, or it might be more extensive work where we do a lot of inner child work, both in session and out of session. I'm a big proponent of doing your work both in session and out of session. I often give a lot of homework. I think that's the cognitive behavioral therapist in me definitely gives a lot of worksheets, a lot of homework, a lot of journaling. I actually brought some of my own coping skills. This is a journal that I use to journal my own feelings, and I definitely encourage clients who are feeling any kinds of worry, any kinds of stress, any kinds of feeling sadness to put it in the journal and to write it down. So that's one of the tools that I recommend people do outside of counseling. So once we have a good idea, once we do that inner child work and family of origin work, and we have a good idea of what a particular client is really thinking, that's when I'll introduce cognitive behavioral therapy. I'll help them recognize that it's not the triggers that occur and it's not their feelings that happen as a result of the triggers that are really the thing that's causing them the distress. It's the belief systems and the thoughts that they have behind that. So let's go back to the example of somebody looking for a promotion. The trigger is they're looking for a promotion. The belief system that they have around that might be, I'm not good enough, bad things happen to me, I never get what I want. And when they think those types of thoughts, then what happens is that they feel anxious, they feel depressed, they, start to do some of the behaviors that happen. They withdraw, they sleep a lot, they don't eat as much as they normally would eat, some of the symptoms and signs of depression. And they think that's the problem. While that is a major issue and those things need to be addressed, what's really going on is those belief systems that they have about themselves, that they're not good enough, that the carpet's going to be pulled out from under them, that people don't believe in them. And so then we can parlay it to the work that we've already done from childhood, how this is an old belief system, this is a belief system that doesn't work for them, that maybe in childhood they had to hold on to that belief system because it was functional for them, but as an adult it's not functional for them anymore. And so then the work comes to create paradigm shifts around belief systems. So for a client that believes that they're not good enough, they might do some positive affirmations, journaling about them. I often refer to people who don't feel good enough to Brené Brown's work on shame and vulnerability. They love that. I love that. She's great. And I strongly recommend that if you haven't read her stuff or watched her TED Talks, that you do that, especially if you're struggling with any belief systems around not feeling good enough. And so then I might have them work with people that they love and people that they trust to help them see that they are good enough, and look at times in their lives when they were experiencing a lot of success, or that they didn't fail, times that they did succeed in their lives. I might help them create a 1-year plan to see where they want to go in their life and create steps around that 1-year plan so that they can start to achieve things. We usually start with small goals and then go to larger goals. I also use this sheet. I don't have it with me today, but I would be happy to post it, called the Balanced Life, or Pillars of a Balanced Life, that takes a look at each area of a person's life. And I have them rate where they're at in each area. And so I'm going to try to think off the top of my head what these areas are, but it's financial, professional, spiritual, intimacy, physical, learning, growth, home, and play and fun. I think those are the 8. I think I got them. Excited that I remembered all of those. And so that's not my personal work. I actually got this from a therapist that I knew that was really helpful for me, and she gave this to me, and I have used it many times with my clients. And so I have them rate where they're at in each area of their life, and then I have them create a goal around each of those areas. So professional, if they're really unhappy with their jobs, a lot of the times I have found, I'm going to go on a tangent and then I'm going to come back, that people generally come to me because they're having difficulties in 2 areas of their lives. So the 2 areas of their lives that I find that people have difficulty and then seek therapy is professionally or in relationships. I think that if people are functioning, they have a job that they love, and they have a relationship that they're really feeling connected in, that sometimes those symptoms can reduce. Now, that's not always the case. There are some people who have a great job and who have a great relationship, and that those feelings of anxiety come up, and that's usually related to things like unresolved issues from childhood or unresolved issues from past relationships that we have to work through in therapy. So if somebody, again, now I'm going back to the sheet that I use, the Pillars of Balanced Life, if that person rates their professional life really low, then we're going to set a goal for them, either to have a talk with their boss, ask for a raise, maybe they're even going to start looking for a new job or starting their own business. And so we can start with low-hanging fruit, meaning things that are easy for people to catch on to and grab, or we can go for the large top end of fruit and goals. And so I really try to meet my clients where they're at in terms of if they are going to go for that high-hanging fruit or low-hanging fruit. But that's one of the tools that I use to help people create paradigm shifts within their lives, help people go from I don't feel safe to I feel safe. And that's where positive affirmations are really important. I usually recommend people do positive affirmations while looking in the mirror and creating that new belief system of I am safe, I am safe, I am safe, and repeating that. I like to use my iPhone. I like to have people put reminders in their phones that pop up every day that say things like I am safe, good things are happening to me, life is always giving me everything that I need. And so that it can be constant reminders. And what I'm hoping happens is that my clients will start to do all of these things. So they'll start to do positive affirmations. They'll start journaling. We'll do work around their childhood. We'll do work around cognitive behavioral. And you start to build up. You build all of these blocks. So then they have a bunch of tools in their toolkit in order to manage those feelings of depression and anxiety. The thing that I know about both depression and anxiety is that a good way to look at it is that you're going to be managing those symptoms versus getting rid of them altogether. Anxiety tends to pop up at times when people think that there is danger. And so the danger might be walking off of a cliff, it might be a snake, or it might be having to face 100 people in a presentation. And so everybody's view of danger is a little bit different in what they're scared of. I know people who love snakes, and I know people who are very scared of snakes. And so it's important to identify what your brain thinks is dangerous, and knowing that if you're faced with that at varying times of your life, that anxiety might be there and it might pop its head up. And sometimes that might be functional, especially in terms of walking off cliffs. We have that danger instinctually, or that anxiety instinctually, because if we didn't have that anxiety, we would literally walk off cliffs, or we would jump into the ocean where sharks are circling around, right? We have to have anxiety. It's important. I usually, at this point when I'm in sessions with people, I usually tell them to watch the movie Inside Out. It's such a cute movie. It's so great. I took my nephew at the time that it came out. I loved it. I think he loved it too. He knows I'm all about the feelings. And so in that movie, they process the 5 primary feelings, which are joy, disgust, anger, fear, and sadness. And in the movie, it explains why all the emotions are important. So I usually like to normalize that with my clients and let them know it is normal to feel sad. It is normal to feel scared. It is normal to feel ashamed sometimes. I mean, those things are going to come up. It's what you do with them. And so what I like to promote is for my clients to have a list of coping skills that they can use and a self-care plan. That's really important to me. One of the things that I always ask a lot of my clients when they're leaving is, what are you going to do for yourself this week? What are you going to do to take care of yourself? It can be something as simple as keeping their next therapy appointment, or it can be going and getting a massage. It can be maybe reconciling a relationship with an old friend. It could be committing to journaling, going to a yoga class. It can be anything, but something that's a commitment to self-care. I think self-care is really important, especially in times of distress. I think it's important when we're feeling good as well. We can't let go of our self-care during those times, but it's important, especially for my clients, to start implementing a lot of self-care within their lives. And we can create self-care plans. We can create a list of coping skills. Usually I like to encourage people to make a list of 5 coping skills that they go to on a regular basis. And so I know my 5 coping skills. I like to go to yoga. Actually, if you can see on my journal, it says yoga. And that's something that's really important to me. I also like to work out. I try to work out most days of the week and do cardio. Exercising is a great skill to use to manage feelings of anxiety and depression. It's one of the main things that I recommend for people to do. So for me, it's yoga, exercise. It's getting enough sleep. A lot of the times when people are experiencing depression and anxiety, they have a hard time sleeping. So we'll review sleep hygiene. I recommend people get up roughly the same time in the morning, go to sleep around the same time at night, limit their usage of any electronics at night, maybe drink some sleepy time tea, or take something that valerian root is really great to drink. They have a lot of different calming teas that you can take if you're at that point. If it's a little more that you're not able to sleep really at all, then seeing a therapist and working through some of those sleep hygiene techniques is going to be really important for you. Sleep is really important. If we are not sleeping enough, we're not at our optimal, both cognitively and emotionally. And so I find sleep to be really important. Another thing that I promote is healthy eating. I actually posted on my Instagram the other day, is it okay to have a soda every once in a while? And of course it's okay to have a soda every once in a while. I actually wanted a ginger ale, but the machine at my office was sold out of ginger ale, so I had a Coke, okay? And that's okay sometimes. But overall, I definitely promote healthy eating and finding things that work really well for your body. Everybody's different. Everybody has different needs in terms of what their body adjusts really well to. I know for me, warm foods work really well. If I eat a lot of cold foods, it doesn't sit very well. I don't like it. And so I know that that's really important for my body to have a lot of warm foods like soups. And so I think it's important for my clients and for just the general public to know what really nurtures them, nourishes them, and feeds them very well. Again, we have to have our basic needs met in order to move up those hierarchy of needs, and food and sleep are the basic blocks. And another thing that I often recommend to a lot of people is to see an acupuncturist. I actually see an acupuncturist about once a month. I find it to be really relaxing and really helpful. And that's actually a great way to introduce Eastern medicine with Western medicine. A lot of the times I see a lot of clients who do not want to be on psychotropic medications. I think that psychotropic medications are helpful. I will make referrals to a psychiatrist when somebody seems to have a treatment-resistant depression, or if they're feeling suicidal, or if we've been working together for a period of time and they're just not getting better, and it seems to be maybe something that they need to see a psychiatrist for, the very least get an evaluation. I am I don't think people should have to suffer, and if medications can help, I definitely recommend people to, at the very least, get an evaluation. I think it's important that we take care of ourselves. And so, but a lot of people will come into my office and say, I refuse to see a psychiatrist. I've been on Lexapro, I've been on Klonopin, they don't work, they don't help. It increased my suicidal thoughts. It made me feel not good. I gained weight. A lot of people are worried about gaining weight when they take SSRIs. I can completely understand that. And so I usually tell people, if you're not going to go Western, then you have to go Eastern. And that's where I recommend that they go see a psychiatrist, or excuse me, an acupuncturist at that time. So if they're not willing to see a psychiatrist, then they see an acupuncturist. And so I have referrals that I give out for people to see them. And it could be a functional medicine doctor, doesn't have to necessarily be a psychiatrist or an acupuncturist, but it has to be somebody who can treat the underlying symptoms of what's going on. An acupuncturist will take a look at some of the channels that are blocked. And so I am an advocate for either going Western or Eastern, especially if the symptoms have been pervasive for a long time or there's any suicidal ideation. I think that if people are feeling suicidal, that they have to get the proper and appropriate treatments. A lot of time, one of the symptoms of depression is feeling suicidal. And so that needs to be managed and that needs to be treated. And so there are ways that can be done through cognitive behavioral therapy, but there also needs to be a lot of safety planning around that and referrals for possible psychiatric evaluation. And so those are some of the basic ways that I treat depression and anxiety. I really enjoy working with people that want to create happiness in their lives. I think that we can all learn to manage those symptoms really well. I think that it's important that people take a look at the belief systems that they have and take a look at kind of the loops that are going through their heads during varying times. Usually depression manifests as thoughts about ourselves, other people, or the world. And so we might have thoughts about ourselves, like, again, going back to that, I'm not good enough, good things never happen to me. About other people hurt me, nobody's ever there for me. Or about the world, that the world is going to come crashing down, or I never get the things that I want to. And so that's where cognitive behavioral therapy comes in. I do a lot of recommendations for workbooks. My favorite workbook, you can't see it, it's actually up here. There's a whole stack of books up here. We're bibliophiles in this office, and so I love books. I think they're great. I definitely recommend my clients to read books. I've got some of my favorite books here. So the Feeling Good Handbook, I love that book because it provides so much rich information about what cognitive behavioral therapy is and how to treat it. And so I usually have my clients work on those workbooks outside of session, and then they bring them into session and we review the work. We can also do some of the work around identifying unhealthy belief systems, unhealthy thinking patterns such as catastrophizing, black and white thinking, fortune telling. There are a bunch of different types of thought patterns that are unhealthy that lead to feelings of depression and anxiety, and we'll generally take a look at those and see what their main type of unhealthy thinking pattern that they use and ways that they can work around that. And so the Feeling Good Handbook, I definitely recommend that book. When I look at things from an attachment standpoint, this is the book that I recommend. It's called Attached. What I love about this book is that they actually have a website that you can go to. It's called attachedtothebook.com, and you can take a little quiz that identifies both your attachment style and your partner's attachment style, and it'll tell you if you and your partner are a good fit. I have actually done EFT training, which is emotionally focused couples counseling, and there is some attachment theory that comes along with that training. When I work with couples, I definitely take a look at each partner's attachment style and how that impacts the relationship. And so there are 3 primary attachment styles based on this book, which is the secure attachment style. That's somebody who feels really solid in relationships, doesn't need a lot of reinforcement, and can handle their emotions really well in the relationship. There's the anxious attachment style. That's somebody who needs a lot of closeness, a lot of affirmation in the relationship, and will feel anxious when they don't get that from their partner. Or even when they do get that from their partner. I know a lot of people who are like, my fiance is great or my boyfriend is great, but sometimes I still feel anxious. And so then the next attachment style is avoidant. And that's somebody who doesn't need a lot of closeness in the relationship, who likes a lot of independence. And so this book will actually explain who should date whom. So should a secure attachment style date somebody who has an anxious attachment style? Should somebody with an anxious attachment style date somebody with an avoidant attachment style? That's probably the most common dynamic that I see in my office, is somebody who has an anxious attachment style is dating somebody who has an avoidant attachment style, and that creates a lot of discord in the relationship. So this is one of the books that I strongly recommend if you are any of those. Next, I have The Glass Castle. I recently read this. These are great for people if they are coming from families that are very chaotic. The Body Keeps the Score. This is a great book for people who have experienced trauma. A lot of the times people who have experienced trauma manifest as depression and anxiety. And so one of the things that I recommend to and refer to, especially to people that are local, is EMDR. They talk about EMDR in this book. I am actually not EMDR trained, but I do refer out a lot for that type of treatment. I teach mindfulness in my office. This is How to Train a Wild Elephant. It's got a lot of tools for mindfulness. And I definitely incorporate meditation, visualizations, progressive muscle relaxation. So teaching some of those relaxation tools, mindfulness is one of those tools. And for my therapist friends out there, love this book, loves Executioner. It is an awesome book. If you haven't read this as a clinician, I strongly recommend this because it'll help you to empathize with yourself on the types of treatments that you do and the types of clients that you come across. One other coping skill that I recommend to clients is to color. This is my coloring book. This is my Harry Potter coloring book. I'm a Harry Potter fanatic. Those of you that have even come to my office or know me know that I love Harry Potter and I love to color. And so this is something that will go in the toolkit that I will use with my clients to get them to learn tools and strategies to relax. That's why I said I often suggest that people go to yoga or that they have some kind of way that they get into their body. It can be through dance, it can be through movement, it can also be through art. I have found that a lot of my clients, so I always tell people this when they come into my office, I don't have anything that I can show you now, but I am not artistic in that way. But a lot of people that come to my office, especially my depressed teenagers and depressed young adults, they are really artistic. They are very creative. They're introverted, creative types. I am an extroverted, non-creative person. And so it's a good mix because they teach me so much about what their brain looks like, what they're thinking, how the creative outlet is important. And so I hadn't really touched on that, but I think that for people to have a creative outlet is really important. So it can be coloring, it could be dance, it could be drawing, it could be writing, it can be anything. And I think that is a very good outlet for people. And so that's basically what I do. That's who I am. Like I said, I'm Amanda Patterson. I am the owner of Amanda Patterson, LMHC, and Caring Therapist of Broward. I am located in Pembroke Pines, and I see clients all through really Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County that come journey to me in my office. So if you have any questions for me, you want to reach out to me, please feel free to private message me on Facebook. You can also find my website. It's amandapattersonlmhc.com. You can send me a request. I invite you to like all of my pages and to connect. We share a lot of information on my blog posts about how to manage feelings of depression and anxiety. And so thank you so much for being with me on this journey today, and I hope you enjoyed your video. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend, everybody. Take care. Bye.